YouTube, welcome to
Huh?
episode 168.
168?
Like, comment,
You been
share, and
doing that 168
subscribe.
times? Huh?
What'd you say?
You been doing that 168 times?
Yeah,
It don't seem like you been doing it that long.
yeah. We in July now, basically.
I know this is July.
And we started in January.
Okay. Who's all on right now? Mika's on now. Who else on?
Just us. I
Oh,
think Kia
Just
had to work.
us.
oh.
Yeah,
You
she
give a
said.
message?
Yeah,
They gonna do every film tomorrow live on telephone.
I know. Kia told me yesterday. I thought it was gonna be in Tulsa, but she told me yesterday that it was
Cost too
gonna
Well,
much to
be.
bring them back.
Huh?
Cost too much to bring them back.
hey,
Nah.
we are
Huh?
live on YouTube, people.
I'm thinking they on the podcast.
Okay.
We're gonna react to y'all's favorite person.
Who is that?
Y'all's second favorite person.
Who is that? That old crazy man?
Nah.
Becomes a leader of the criminal organization. He doesn't take, but there's some that are clear cut in my opinion. Watch the full video, hit subscribe. Let's go, boys. All right, jurors entering, prosecution, government's closing arguments. Let's go. Over the last few weeks, you've learned that Sean Combs is the leader of the criminal organization. He doesn't take no for an answer.
Let's
He's
go.
into kidnapping, arson, which I think
I
they
didn't do
dropped
that. We're
those
doing all.
aspects of the RICO, but I'm not 100% sure. Forced labor, bribery of security officer, and brutal crimes of sex trafficking. Considered 2 months, March 2016, Intercontinental. Defendant got violent with Cassie, saw what happened. He dragged her back to the freak off. 24 at Jane's house, the defendant choked and hit her. She ran, couldn't get away. These are chapters in the same book. The defendant counted on silence and shame, and he thought that his fame and wealth and power put him above the law. Over the last 7 weeks, you've heard that he used his staff to promote his power. No one could stop him. We'll talk about RICO, including sex trafficking and transportation for prostitution, which are also separately charged as standalone crimes. You may have heard of racketeers. When someone commits crimes as part of a group, they're more dangerous. As a group of people whose purpose was to serve and protect the defendant, it is his
This is where the Rico come into play.
Huh?
Lucinda, where'd she
You
go?
talking to your mama
Yeah, where'd she go?
in the bathroom?
Oh, this is where the Rico come into play at. Getting other people to do his dirt, set up the stuff
Puerto Rico.
for
Uh,
P Diddy.
Federal charge.
Huh?
Federal charges. Not our cousin. Federal charges.
Oh.
This is the P Diddy case,
Oh.
He's
Oh.
talking about
the
Oh,
what?
okay.
trial.
Oh, okay.
Have you been keeping up with it?
No, I ain't been watching it. I've been reading it, some of it on my telephone. They
Mm-hmm.
won't show it on TV.
Uh-uh.
I don't know why they didn't show it on TV. The only part I saw is the part where they showed when he went to that girl was gonna leave. He come out with a tie wrapped around her and knocked her on the floor and then started kicking her. But I know when I first saw it, when that girl left and mama came to get her, he was left. But she talked to him, but the girl wasn't ready to leave. She stayed there with him, and she know how the man was treating her. Had locked
So
him in that
you,
room.
so you think he guilty or not guilty?
Yeah, he guilty of that mess, some of that stuff he's doing.
Of
He guilty. Had them locked
traffic.
in a room, they can't get out.
Oh yeah, that is
Lucinda,
Huh?
that
is she
is
back yet?
no.
Who? Your mama? I
Yeah.
don't know what she's doing. She must have fell but down the toilet stool. She got her makeup on.
Oh my god.
They need to give him life where he treat them some of them people.
That's not what they charging him for, though. That's what they should be charging him for. Ruining people's careers, taking all, taking their money.
Yeah, and some of the women were locked in the room. They couldn't get out of the rooms.
Yeah.
So one of them, the room she was in had all she had in there was a bucket with no bed to sleep in.
Where you see
A
that
bucket.
at? I didn't see that.
They showed that had a bucket of pee, and that's all.
Where?
One of them women, where you see one of them women, your son was talking about you. What, what you call your mom, Lucinda?
Yeah.
What?
You hear her P. Diddy take?
What she say?
She said he deserved how many years?
He gonna get life. He don't treat women the way he treat women.
Mama, but do they have enough to charge him and convict him?
They should.
What do they have?
If the women wouldn't be scared of him, they like Donald Trump. They scared to talk about the man.
Mama, we not talking about that. We talking about the trial. Did they have enough
I
evidence?
didn't follow the trials. I don't know.
But look, hey, they going through the RICO stuff right now.
What's the
Kingdom, everyone was there
RICO?
to serve him, fulfilling all of his desires.
Right here.
People whose purpose was to serve others. When someone commits crimes as part of a group, they are more dangerous. As a group of people whose purpose was to serve and protect the defendant, it is his kingdom. Everyone was there to serve him, fulfilling all of his desires, including sexual desires, which we need to show at least
But
two
they
represented
willingly
crimes.
done
And it was the
it.
head of Combs Enterprise. There was an inner circle, his
Oh,
chief of staff, and his bodyguards. And names changed, but the roles remained the same. You've heard about KK, Combs' right brain. She lived in Two Star. She communicated with defense girlfriends. His security, you heard their names: D-Rock, Bonds, Ruben, Uncle Paulie, Fahim. They were armed and ready. Remember the incident at the diner with Suge Knight? David James told you Combs had guns, and search law enforcement found guns including a rifle serial number defaced in LA, 2 ARs with their serial numbers cut out in a defense closet. You'll see the rotating cast of assistants paid by the defense business. Jeez. I know a lot of people watching this video, like I'd say probably half of people think he's innocent. When they start putting it all together like this, it's like, holy shit, yeah, it was a lot of this. I don't know. Brennan Paul said he
Yeah, it was a lot of that.
You might want to go outdoors.
He made over 100K a year. KK made 6 times that. Jesus. KK was making half a million.
Take my door.
Okay.
Okay.
get the phone. You didn't move it again.
Year or some shit. When your boss asks you to buy drugs, you're committing a crime. When you kidnap someone or locked his girlfriend in a hotel room after your boss stomped on his face, it's a crime. The law does not require us to know they liked committing these crimes. KK got cash, drugs, she was a member of the enterprise, impacted interstate commerce, minimal is fine. Combs knowingly became a member. He was the boss. The Racketeering Acts ? Distribution of drugs, kidnapping, arson, bribery, facilitating sex trafficking of Cassie and Jane, forced labor, travel for commercial sex, and the cover-up. You only need to find that someone would commit 2 acts in any of these categories, so they only have to do 2 acts. Travel for commercial sex is pretty much a done deal, in my opinion. Kidnapping and
So we
arson,
all do that
not
though.
really.
People date online and travel for sex. I mean, well, not for the
What,
sole purpose of
what
sex,
do they
but
consider commercial sex? Like, what is
because they on a
that?
commercial look, because they on a commercial flight.
Oh, I mean, like this. I'm like, what is commercial sex? That's
But
crazy.
I'm like, people who
I've
meet
never heard of that one.
online, they fly their girlfriend, boyfriend out. I mean, they going across states in the air.
I guess you just can't do it if you're in power.
I don't understand that. I still don't understand that. I don't. And then you had the Gina girl. She planning freak offs by herself
Something wrong with that girl.
to surprise them. But I don't understand. I would be really shocked if they get a majority conviction. I really would. Is you muted?
Bribery? There's some evidence of bribery. Security guard testified, yeah, he gave me 25 grand or whatever. Not good. The most involved were D-Rock, KK, and Fahim, but others helped keep drug supply high. We're not talking about marijuana, but what Brendan Paul called hard drugs. These are stipulation of drugs found in searches: cocaine, meth, oxyketamine, dissociative drug, GHB, mushrooms, Molly, 2C, combined, dyed pink. Drug dealers named Guido, One Stop, Baby Girl. Jane told you on 2 occasions she was told to bring drugs when she flew to meet him. She coordinated with KK. It's corroborated by text messages. KK told Jane to swing by Mapleton to pick up Guido package. He was called during hotel night, so we know what Guido package was. More ecstasy. Security team knew what it was. Brendan Paul asked for $780 for personal Gucci items, that is hard drugs. Drugs were distributed. Doesn't matter. He wasn't buying kilos or selling them. Personal use is just a distraction. They bought and distributed to people around him. Cassie used drugs at every freak-off supplied by defendant. He introduced Jane to drugs. He gave drugs to Carrie Morgan. D-Rocks would text One Stop, need to see someone for bro. That is the defendant. Guido asked Fahim to cover the defendant's drug debt. KK knew he was distributing drugs to the women for the Wild King nights. Jane told KK she was having a bad come down. KK gives pro tips on how to deal with it. Plain and simple, this is drug distribution. How about kidnapping? They committed them under both California and New York law. Consider Cassie. Bond made her stay put. Oh, so talking about the keeping them at a hotel room or whatever after he abused them. I think Cassie testified that she was held at a hotel room against her will. Defendant called Cassie a slut. He stomped on her face. She was disfigured. Roger Bonds called her and brought her back. The defendant made her go to the London Hotel in Sunset so no one saw her. She wanted to go home to her mom, but no. It clears Cassie to not consent to staying in the London Hotel. David James testified the defendant demanded to see his search history if he had posted the defendant assaulted Cassie in the club. Then there's Capricorn Clark. They made her take a lie detector test for days in an empty office building in Manhattan. This was in 2004. She was holding expensive jewelry that went missing. Uncle Paulie took her to the future HQ of Bad Boy. She was tested for 5 lies. If you're new to the channel, please hit subscribe. I appreciate the support. Back to the video. If anything happened, he'd have to kill her. David James remembers this. He was tested too to get the rat out of the team. December 2011, Rube told the defendant kidnapped Capricorn Clark. It started on December 22nd. The defendant banged on Capricorn's door with a gun. He was out for revenge. He barked an order at Capricorn, get dressed. We're going to kill Kid Cudi.
What the hell?
That's when he was supposed to blow up his car.
Not that I was trying to kill him, no. Damn, I thought it was just a scare tactic.
But then they dropped that charge, the arson. That was one of the charges they dropped.
Yeah, that's crazy.
To Kid Cudi's house, the defendant had a gun in his lap. This was kidnapping. He moved her a substantial distance. The defendant said he wouldn't let her told until she brought him Cassie, who he kicked when she arrived into a fetal position. Cassie was with Kid Cudi that morning, testified this. The officer who responded to the 911 call said he saw a black Escalade registered to Bad Boy. Then on January 12, 2012, the defendant had Kid Cudi's car set on fire, arson. There's not necessarily direct evidence that links him to the car in terms of like footage or DNA or anything like that, but a lot of signs point to him doing it. It's up to the jury to weigh it, you know what I mean? Specifically for the arson. Someone cut a hole in the roof of Kid Cudi's car and dropped in a Molotov cocktail. We're not suggesting the defendant cut the hole. He didn't even buy his own soup. You heard the voice notes. Fried him. That was funny as shit. Bro didn't even buy his own soup. He said he was going to blow up Kid Cudi's car. What are the odds? He says it and it happened. The coincidence just keep on coming. The defendant and Rube just happened to be there a few weeks before. Kid Cudi was driving the same Porsche the night of the trespass. What are the odds? The odds are very, very low. I mean, but there's a little bit of doubt because we don't have direct evidence, but the odds are there. I agree with them. If someone said, I'll shoot you right now, do you think Diddy did it or not? I'd be like, yeah. All right. Kid Cudi had conflicts with no one except the defendant. D-Rock brought Kid Cudi to a defendant who was looking like a Marvel supervillain. Years later, defendant apologized to Kid Cudi. Then there's bribery. The 2016 video, defendant was having freak off with Cassie and one of the escorts, Jules. Flores found the defendant sitting in a chair with what he called a devilish stare in the room. He saw another man. The defendant tried to hand Flores a stack of money. There's a lot of evidence of bribery and a lot of evidence of transporting prostitutes across state lines. It was the first attempt at bribe that day. Cassie leaves. Combs starts with damage control.
I still don't think he's gonna be found guilty. I don't know.
Today, with these, what they saying, he did travel prostitutes across state lines because those were like the call, like they really did hire people to come in, like those men that Cassie testified about in the beginning.
But then if that's the case, they need to be brought up on charges too, because Cassie called them, the KK called them, the Gina called them. He wasn't the only one that called them, and then the Gina girl surprised them with some.
That's why they trying to get him on racketeering though, because it's like he has all these people doing this for him. Gina's stupid though. Something wrong with that girl.
Oh, that's crazy.
Something is wrong with her.
Mm-hmm.
No, for real. Who does that? I
Cassie
scheduled
over
a
double
relationship
time.
with other people so he wouldn't be with nobody else. Like what?
I know.
That's what?
Jealous and insecure.
Absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy.
You're gonna go through a whole freak off just because you want to be with somebody and you don't want him to
Right.
be with nobody else. That's crazy.
He's openly with other people. Like he was with Young Miami. Well, I guess him and Gina been messing around for a long time before her. But you've never been like a main person. Nobody heard of you until you start arguing with Young Miami. She crazy too. Like, oh my God, what people do for money.
Crazy.
James texts, call me, cops are here. He was just manipulating her, but the defendant knew he could be arrested. He went and banged on Cassie's door with a hammer. Neighbors were going to call the police. They did in fact go. Kerry Morgan had the LAPD card. Once Eddie says his boss will do it for $50,000, the defendant calls him Eddie, my angel. That's how he's saved in the cell phone call. Eddie goes to deliver the USB. D-Rock and KK are there. The defendant counted out dollar by dollar the bribe. Sean has his chair pushed way back from the defense table and is looking around. What? Why is he doing that? That's weird. Paying for silence is influenced testimony, and their opening defense suggested it was just about bad publicity. Police involvement would hurt him that these two are connected. The next rack chain predicate is sex trafficking. Defense inner circle assisted whether they wanted to or not. Threats, drugs, lies, and illegal violence to make them have sex with escorts. This is not an attempt to criminalize dysfunctional relationship or personal sexual behavior. They did not want to have sex with strangers while the defendant masturbated. They were covered in oil and sore over and over again. We're not asking you to find every hotel night or freak off with sex trafficking, or even the majority. You only need to find the elements were met one time. One freak.
Oh, wow.
Mm.
That's not fair. That's not fair.
Mm.
Everybody should get 2 chances.
We could put 2 chances.
Well, mother, there you have it.
First time he didn't know. Then you gotta tell him. And then you know you can't be continuously doing it. That's funny.
Well, all these other people better stop flying people around and stuff.
Right. Because everybody is hiring people. You know, everybody of status that's rich, they hire you, they pay you to
But then
leave.
what about them? These people be hiring these strippers at these strip clubs and inviting them to these parties to perform and stuff. That's the same thing.
Yeah, we all going down. Hell, all they gotta do is pull everybody's text message records. Everybody going down.
Yeah.
Freak off. That's it. He's guilty.
That's crazy.
I think he's cooked. I know a lot of people were saying there wasn't a lot of evidence of this, but there kind of was with these text messages about them not wanting to do it. But then there's other times where she was organizing it. She said she wanted to do it. Let's have a freak off. It only matters one time. So shit, bro. Talking about love bombing Jane. He gave Jane ecstasy. She fell to the ground convulsing. She was high. The defendant had to freak off, set up that very night. An escort came. She didn't realize she had opened Pandora's box. It became 90% of their relationship. For a while, she went along. Then she said she wanted to stop. There are texts about this. Not a good look. I remember there being texts with Jane where she said, I don't want to do this anymore. Jane said if she's going to have sex with strange men, she should choose which. The defendant made her ask them for nude photos. These were not for her. Diddy.
Wow.
Yeah. It's not looking so good now that who is this guy? Now that he's breaking it down.
Well, it's still up in the air to me. I just don't think a 12 is gonna come back and say guilty.
They gotta explain to them what they should make them listen to this or explain to the way that he's explaining. This is what this is. Like this is how we're tying all this together. Because I wouldn't know all this at first. Like I just don't understand. People pay for prostitutes every day.
Yeah. And I
right
guarantee you that's what some of the jurors are going to be saying. People pay for stuff every day. Watch.
You little fruit. Bro said, I want to find an escort to bang my girlfriend. Let me look at these pictures of these guys' dicks to see if I want them to bang my girlfriend. Like, this is insane to me. Bro is tripping. Like
Right.
absolutely tripping. She would try to go faster. He'd order her to slow down. It's about what he wanted. He dangled carrots. He gave her gifts and money. He lied to her repeatedly. She asked, when are we doing a getaway? He said he'd go on a yacht but didn't. Here's what Jane wrote in her notes app. I don't want to have you use me to fulfill your freaky wild desires in hotel rooms. He used his payment of a rent as leverage. The carrot turned into a stick. She wrote the threats and innuendo are nonstop. He paid for her veneers because he didn't like her teeth.
Mm. Thank
So
you.
wealthy people like this are just they truly live on a different planet. It's fucking crazy. Bro didn't like his girl's teeth and said, "Let me get you a new set of teeth for fucking probably 40 grand." Jane wrote, "You gaslit me. It was sexual exploitation. You framed as a love for your sick fetishes." Defendant called her and tried to trick her into saying it was all consented. He fed her a false narrative. Listen to the clip. He talked over her. Dr. Hughes told you a victim is trauma bonded to her abuser. Jane often felt the defendant didn't listen to the truth. She said Sean would just say move on. He told her to charge him. Lawyers would be involved to buy her silence. So she asked for $100,000 a year for her to move on. She thought it was reasonable, far less than Cassie. The defendant went ballistic. She refused to adopt her false narrative. You can read the text message. Then he reached out and told her to come to see him in Miami. She makes it clear that she didn't want a hotel night. Despite his promise, he called an escort. Here, more threats about rent. Jane writes, I hate worrying about the rent. This is in 2024. It's all accumulated in June of 2024. He assaulted her and forced her to perform oral sex on an escort. This is sex trafficking. It was
Yeah, forcing her to do stuff if she don't want to. That's kind of not good.
State and Ashgaard crossed state lines. The defendant knew or recklessly disregarded the force, threats of force, coercion, or fraud used. Consenting once doesn't mean she consented every time. One time is enough. Dude, he's cooked, man. I'm telling you. Jury in New York, gotta think about where they're at. Jane sent him
When you put it in those terms, yeah.
He's cooked.
another message is dark and sleazy. Fear of losing my home. His response, girl, stop. Then he FaceTimed her and told her about stopping and dinner. He lied. Look. He's also texting Paul Arthur and escort. Look at these messages. He's setting up a hotel night. When she is in the air, he tells her he has a surprise for her. She did not want it. Before the plane even lands, it is a completed act of sex trafficking. He tricked her. Then under coercion, she calls Cabral to come to New York. And the next text, she says in New York City, I knew you would pair me up with a random person. She writes, I'm not a porn star. I'm not an animal. I need a break. Then defendant responds, let's spend the day. No strangers. She replies, you'll love bomb me. He switches from carrot stick, the house. He texts, are you going to let me into our house? 8 times. Then he said he was sick. I needed her. She went and had sex with 3 different men without drugs. After vomit, he said, get back out there. He went to Jane's house. They were supposed to have a fun date night. They drank and argued. She pushed his head into the counter. He shouted at her. She told him to leave. She ran and closed doors. He kicked down 3 doors. She ran without shoes. She hid. He was waiting. Jane hit the defendant. He punched her in the face. Here are the photos. He dragged her by the hair back into the house. Jane took his phone and called the other woman. Defendant called Jonathan Perez. He followed her into the shower and hit her, knocked her down. He called Anton the escort and told her to have sex with him. She put on makeup to hide her injuries. She drove to pick up Anton at the gate. The defendant said, take this fucking pill. He put his face inches from her and asked, is this coercion? He was brazenly acknowledged he was breaking the very same law he violated before. Jane didn't want to have sex with the escort that night. She said no, but he wouldn't take no as an answer. Jane performed oral sex until Anton ejaculated. Defendant told his security to bring cash to Anton. They didn't have it. The next day, he gave Jane the money to pay Anton. She Ubered the bag of money to him. This was coercion. Combs threatened to send sex tapes to Jane's child's
This is crazy. When did all this happen? I did miss a couple weeks of this.
Is this with Gina or who?
I don't know who Jane is.
I think Jane is Gina.
Oh, okay.
I think
They need to just say her damn name here.
that's who it is.
father. This was to coerce her into more commercial sex acts. The Finch suggested that Jane agreed to these hotel nights. Let's talk about what agreeing means. This is their incomplete picture. Here we go. We're going to talk about Cassie with several examples. You know, from sitting through this trial, the force was not limited these days. Through the decade they were together, he forced her to have sex with escorts. Cassie was 19. He was in his late 30s. He signed her to 10 record deal. He took her on a yacht and gave her ecstasy. They had sex. They were in a relationship. She just turned 21. The defendant was her boss, who called all the shots. He molded her. He didn't take no for an answer. He was abusive, physical, emotional, psychological, and sexual. They want you to call this domestic violence, but he was forcing her to have freak-offs. He controlled everything. He demanded that her nails be done a certain way on red carpets. The Vanity Fair party in 2014. Combs shouted, I thought I told you she'll have to have her hair up. He wouldn't let her make money through her music. She was offered the chance to do a common video. Puff said no. He paid for her car, clothing, phones, and vacation. He made her dependent. He did it to her family too. After he found out she was with Kid Cudi, he demanded $20K from her parents to pay him back. He'd released sex tapes. That month, in this just account, he had $3.2 million coming in and out. This was about control. He beat her up in Vegas. She was curled up under the toilet. They met for dinner in Malibu. Then he R-worded her on the living room floor. She said no. She cried, but he didn't take no for an answer. He R-worded her. He wrote, "I could tell I didn't turn you on yesterday." That is because he R-worded her. Because the trauma bond after the R-word, she met him at the friend's party, then had sex, consensual sex. This was trauma bond. Sometimes the defendant told escort to urinate on her. Sometimes he urinated himself. Why? To turn himself on. She began drug addicted. Here she
He
Yeah,
nasty.
he did get her on drugs, but plus, bless her heart.
He just nasty.
Hold on, rewind that.
to urinate on her. Sometimes he urinated himself. Why? To turn himself on. She began drug addicted. Here she wrote, "I love our FOs when we both want it." Jurors, this is not an all or nothing situation.
Did he just say she loved it when they both wanted it?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Where is
Mm.
the charger at?
So they can pick and choose when they wanted it?
Right. Well, I mean, I guess you can, because you can't. If somebody say no, that mean no.
But I'm just saying, but if they
There were
have a
times she didn't
consistent
want to
pattern
do
of
it. That
doing
is sex
it, he probably
trafficking.
thought she wanted it. She should have just said no and just not ever done it again.
Well, he holding all that money over her head, her
Yeah.
lifestyle, and then
And
she
the
was.
record deals.
That's all you think about is being, like, being the it person, not worrying about nothing. Must be nice. Well, it ain't nice apparently, because you see what she was going through.
Jurors, this is not an all or nothing situation. There were times she didn't want to do it. That is sex trafficking. She obviously didn't want to have an escort urinate in her mouth while she lay on the floor. Let's talk about the videos. You've seen the clips. You don't see weapons. You see her having sex masturbating. The defendant is moving the camera all around, at times focused on the escorts, not Cassie at all. It's clear this was all about his fantasy, not Cassie's. Defense may tell you that violence is not connected to sex, but it was an attempt to get Cassie to continue with the freak off. Later, she wrote to him, "I'm not a ragdoll, I'm someone's child." There were freak offs in New York with Daniel Phillip. Daniel Phillip was not paid for his time. This is a ridiculous argument. In one freak off between session, the defendant told Cassie to come into the bedroom. She kept using the computer. The defendant threw a bottle, dragged her, then slapped her. "Bitch, when I tell you to come, you come." After Daniel Phillips could not form, but a completed act is not required for sex trafficking. This is sex trafficking. The defendant accused Cassie of stealing drugs. He threw her off the boat. They were staying on. Mia heard an audio.
Oh, wow.
Left in New York. She
Oh, my goodness.
She was going through it. Like, what the hell? Can she swim? You just throwing her ass off the boat.
Threw her off a boat.
Pray to God it ain't no riptides out there, because Jesus, that's crazy. Who does it to somebody? He is crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You still iffy?
Yes.
I mean, if they read this,
because you gotta look at the fact it's 12 people. We keep going back and forth. So just imagine 12 people that have never met each other, ain't gonna never see each other after this, and they're gonna be going back and forth.
if they read this to them, they all gonna be like, "Oh, damn, okay, I mean, he did all that. he did a lot of this. That's crazy."
Rated seats to get away, but he followed and showed her freak off videos. He threatened to release sex tapes. When they got to New York, they had a freak off. There's another example of clear-cut coercion. He threw her off a boat without her passport. He wanted Cassie to be afraid to say no to him. Cassie said, "I don't know what no would mean." What no would turn into. He could be violent. Defense said Cassie made a choice every day to stay with him. Step back. Imagine yourself as Cassie. This was force. This was leverage. There were drugs, dissociative, numbing. That doesn't mean she wanted to have sex with an escort and freak offs. In 2009, he wrote, "You're supposed to be seducing me all day." Let's go back to count one. I think that's the RICO. While it was the defendant in the freak offs, he had help from KK, D-Rock, Fahim. They knew it was wrong. How'd they facilitate? KK got strange men to access the rooms. The defendant and Cassie shared. KK got Clayton Howard, Dave to access the room. Jonathan Press found the video of Cassie having sex with an escort. He showed it to the KK. She knew. Fahim saw it too. Fahim got drugs to the defendant even during the freak offs between sessions. KK still sent stuff for Wild King nights. D-Rock iced Cassie's black eyes. It'd be absurd to think D-Rock didn't know what they were doing. Of course he knew. I expect the defense will say they didn't know. Jesus. The transportation counts do not require force, fraud, or coercion. Even if all consented, we know that it's not true. It's still a crime. It's knowing transportation with the intent the individual engaged in prostitution. That one's clear cut to me. There's so much evidence of prostitutes going across state lines. That's clear cut. I don't know how they even fight that. Count 3, free calls involving Cassie at escorts travel was often booked by travel agents. She remembered Dave Clayton. He would travel from New York to Miami or LA. Another escort traveled to Ibiza. This was Jules Theodore at London Hotel, New York City. The defendant asked for Jules' name for the ticket. Defendant's Amex show he paid for her car. There's $2,000 bill from the London Hotel. Defendant texted, I will tip you. For what? Sex. For the incident alone, defendant is guilty under the count 3. But there's more. Jules at London Hotel starting at 7 a.m. The defendant says, how should I pay? He paid for Paul's travel to Turks for sex. Reggie flew from Vegas to LA for sex. He is never tired. Jane sent $1,100 cash app. 4,000 damage. Hotel staff found bodily fluids on the floor. It couldn't be clearer. Yikes, man. Every time
I'm gonna
Mm.
tell you, all the other celebrities and NBA players and football players better stop flying these women.
Right. They
And
all do it. That's what's so crazy. They all do
I'm
it.
gonna tell you right now, a lot of escorts and prostitutes, they're gonna be trying to get people caught up to get a bag. Now that they know
Yeah, the Cassie got rich real quick.
they can get a man hung, hemmed up.
They already do that.
But I mean, it'll be more often now.
Yeah, because all of
'Cause
them,
a lot of people do it.
all of them.
Just think of all the different celebrities that throw parties and have strippers and escorts, and then they even call these escort services, and they get their best girls to go for these jobs and fly them out. Now it's the same thing.
Yeah, it is.
You can call it what they having a freak off too, because they going for one reason, to be nasty.
John KK helped arrange travel for Wild King Night. She was part of the crime. She may not have liked it, but she did. It took weeks to recover from these freak-offs. That's forced labor. Let's talk about Mia. She worked for Combs, finding at Revolt. She went 5 days without sleep. Combs assaulted her. He put his hands up her dress. He came into her bedroom and penetrated her. He came into the closet and forced her to perform oral sex. Something happened on a private jet, too. Diddy called Jane after the lawsuit, fishing to see if she was going to be an issue. He calls and asks, what can I do to make you feel better? He says, I can't be speaking on the phone. He's worried the U.S. will get 3 years of his text messages with Jane. While he's recording the call, he tries to convince her she was willing. He says, we just did some kinky shit I thought we both enjoyed. They reach out to Mia. D-Rock calls her 5 times in a row. You spent 7 weeks listening to a lot of evidence. Was hard to hear or see. You heard from Kid Cudi, whose house was broken into, car burned, Regina Ventura, Deontay Nash, how he ran the enterprise with total control. It's time to hold him accountable. It's time to find him guilty. And that's it. Holy shit. That was intense right there. Could this
1 minute.
Last
Well,
thoughts.
I will say that the closing argument wrapped up today. So Monday, the judge is going to read the jury the instructions and then hand it over to the jury.
And then we'll see.
Yep.
Almost over.
So what do y'all think? If they deliberate within an hour or two, do you think they're gonna say guilty, or do you think the longer they are deliberating is gonna be not guilty?
No, I
think
think the longer the more even it's gonna be.
I
I'm gonna
think
tell
it's
you that one I was on, we went long, and then we asked the bailiff to go to the judge and say we can't come to an agreement. It hung jury. He said no, keep deliberating. So y'all come to a unanimous thing, and then we went on hours, and then the ones that was holding out for not guilty, eventually everybody else flipped to not guilty.
we shall see.
They're gonna